Welcome back to RF Coins. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most mysterious, fascinating, and valuable coins in U.S. history, the 1965 Liberty Quarter Dollar. You might be shocked to know that a simple 1965 quarter, the kind most people ignore in their loose change, could actually be worth a fortune, in some rare cases, up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yes, you heard that right. Some 1965 quarters have sold for nearly $900,000. So, sit tight, because we're about to uncover everything you need to know: the history, the hidden secrets, the key details to look for, and the current market value that's making collectors across America go absolutely crazy. Let's begin with a little bit of history. The year 1965 was a turning point in American coinage. Before 1965, quarters were made of 90% silver and 10% copper. But that all changed when the U.S. Mint decided to remove silver from circulating coins due to the rising price of silver. So starting in 1965, quarters were made from a copper-nickel-clad composition, meaning they contained no silver. The inner core was pure copper, while the outer layer was a mix of copper and nickel, giving the coin its familiar silvery look. Now here's where it gets interesting. During the transition period between 1964 and 1965, some silver planchets, those are blank metal discs used to strike coins, accidentally got mixed into the presses that were supposed to mint the new clad 1965 quarters. This means a few 1965 quarters were struck on 90% silver planchets, just like the older 1964 quarters. These are the coins that have become legends among collectors. They're extremely rare, and when found in pristine condition, they can sell for astronomical prices, up to $898,959, according to recent auction records. Imagine this: a coin you might have in your pocket change, a coin that looks completely ordinary, could secretly be one of those ultra-rare transitional errors. That's why collectors and enthusiasts all over the world are carefully checking every 1965 quarter they come across. Now, let's talk about how to identify one of these valuable treasures. First, check the weight. A standard copper-nickel 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, but a silver 1965 quarter struck on a leftover 1964 silver planchet will weigh around 6.25 grams. That small difference can mean the difference between a regular 25-cent coin and a life-changing jackpot. Next, take a close look at the edges of the coin. Regular clad quarters have a clearly visible copper-colored stripe along the edge, which comes from the exposed copper core. But the rare silver 1965 quarter will have a solid silver edge, no copper color visible at all. That's one of the easiest visual clues to spot without special equipment. Another thing to check is the sound. Silver coins have a distinctive, higher-pitched ring when dropped gently on a hard surface, while clad coins produce a duller sound. Coin collectors often call this the ring test. Though it's not definitive proof, it can be a good first indication that you might have something special. Now, let's talk about minting locations. The 1965 quarters were struck at 3 different U.S. mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, but here's the twist: none of them carry a mint mark. That's right, the U.S. Mint stopped using mint marks between 1965 and 1967 to discourage hoarding. So, no matter where your 1965 quarter was made, it won't have a D or S mark. That means you'll have to rely on other factors like weight, color, and metal composition to identify the silver errors. Let's dive deeper into current market trends. Over the last decade, coin collecting has exploded in popularity. With platforms like eBay, heritage auctions, and great collections showcasing some incredible finds, the market for rare 1965 quarters has become hotter than ever. A few years ago, a pristine example of a 1965 silver quarter sold for over $8,000, but recently, in exceptional mint condition and with certified grading, similar coins have sold for nearly $900,000. That's right, a 25-cent coin reaching close to $1 million, but not every 1965 quarter is worth that much. The majority are still worth their face value, just 25 cents, but here's the thing: Even standard 1965 quarters in uncirculated condition or high mint state grades can fetch between $15 and $100, depending on the grade and luster. Those with proof-like surfaces or strong strikes are even more desirable. And if your coin has an interesting error, like a double die, off-center strike, or clipped planchet, its value can skyrocket. Let's talk about grading, because that plays a massive role in determining value. The coin grading scale goes from 1 to 70, with MS 70 representing a perfect, flawless coin. A 1965 quarter graded MS 65 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So, before you assume your quarter is ordinary, consider having it professionally graded. It could make all the difference. Collectors and historians alike love the 1965 Liberty Quarter not only for its potential value but also for what it represents, a major transition in U.S. coinage history. This coin marks the end of the silver era and the beginning of modern clad coinage. It's a piece of American history you can literally hold in your hand. Now, here's another amazing fact. Some 1965 quarters have been found with proof-like surfaces, even though official proof coins weren't produced that year for circulation. Experts believe these may have been experimental strikes or test coins made at the San Francisco Mint. These mysterious examples only add to the fascination and allure of the 1965 quarter. As of the current market value, a regular circulated 1965 quarter is worth between 25 cents and $1, depending on condition. An uncirculated one might fetch $5 to $20, and high-grade certified coins can bring in $100 to $300. But if you're lucky enough to find one of the rare silver transition errors, that's where the real treasure lies, with auction records soaring up to $898,959 for top specimens. So, if you've got a jar of old coins lying around, or if you've just received some. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating pieces of American coinage, the 1967 Liberty Quarter Dollar. At first glance, this coin may look like just another old quarter, something you could find in your change jar or an old dresser drawer. But don't be fooled. This coin has a story, a history, and in some cases, a value that could surprise you beyond imagination. So grab your magnifying glass, because the journey into the hidden world of the 1967 Liberty Quarter begins right now, right here, on RF Coins. The year was 1967, America was in the middle of a cultural revolution. The Vietnam War was raging, the Beatles ruled the charts, and the U.S. Mint was making history with some of its most talked about coins. The 1967 quarter dollar, featuring the timeless portrait of George Washington, carries more history than you might imagine. Designed by John Flanagan, this quarter represents not just American currency, but a reflection of a nation evolving through turbulence, pride, and change. Let's start with the basics. The 1967 Liberty Quarter was struck at a time when the United States Mint had just gone through one of its biggest transformations. In 1965, the Mint stopped using 90% silver in quarters and switched to a copper-nickel clad composition because of rising silver prices. That means the 1967 quarter was made from a blend of 75% copper and 25% nickel on the outside, with a pure copper core on the inside. It weighs 5.67 grams and measures 24.3 millimeters across. There's no mint mark on it because, from 1965 to 1967, the Mint deliberately left off mint marks to discourage coin hoarding. Collectors were grabbing up coins so fast that the government feared a shortage. Now here's where things get interesting. Even though most 1967 quarters are common, there are special variations and rare errors that can make them worth far more than just 25 cents. Yes, you heard that right, some of these coins can fetch hundreds, even thousands of dollars, depending on their condition and uniqueness. One of the most sought-after types is the full-strike 1967 quarter, where every tiny detail, including Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers on the reverse, is perfectly sharp. These high-grade examples, especially those graded MS-67 or MS-68 by PCGS or NGC, are incredibly rare. While the average circulated 1967 quarter might only be worth its face value, a top-graded gem can command an astonishing price. Some have sold for over $8,000 to $9,000 at auctions, but that's not all. Error coins from 1967 can be worth small fortunes. Imagine finding a double die obverse, where the word liberty or in God we trust appears doubled. Or a misstrike, where part of the design is missing or shifted. These minting mistakes are like fingerprints of history, rare, valuable, and highly collectible. Some known 1967 errors include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, and broad strikes. Each type of error adds its own level of rarity and intrigue. Collectors pay handsomely for well-defined errors, with prices ranging anywhere from $200 to over $5,000, depending on the severity and condition. Another incredible fact about the 1967 quarter is that over 1.5 billion coins were minted that year, an enormous number. Yet, despite such a huge mintage, pristine, untouched examples are hard to find today. Most of these coins were used in everyday transactions, worn down, and forgotten. But those that survived in mint condition are treasures waiting to be rediscovered by sharp-eyed collectors like you. Let's talk about proof-like and SMS coins from 1967, the special mint sets. Since the U.S. Mint didn't issue regular proof coins between 1965 and 1967, they instead released these special sets for collectors. The coins in these sets were struck with higher pressure and polished dies, giving them a shiny, mirror-like surface. These SMS quarters often display stunning luster and sharp details. A perfect 1967 SMS quarter graded SP68 or SP69 can easily be worth $1,000 to $2,500 or more, depending on demand and certification. Now, when we talk about the market value of the 1967 Liberty quarter today, there's a wide range. A regular circulated coin might be worth 25 to 50 cents, just slightly above face value. But in uncirculated condition, values climb quickly. MS65 examples can bring $15 to $50, MS66 coins can go for $150 to $400, and the elusive MS67 and above, those near-perfect gems, are the real prizes, fetching $900, $2,000, or even more depending on the sale and market timing. And in some cases, exceptionally rare examples with strong strikes and toning have reached astounding prices like $8,958 in the collector's market. Collectors today are rediscovering these coins because of their connection to a dramatic time in U.S. minting history. The 1967 Liberty Quarter stands as a symbol of the shift from precious silver to modern base metals, a transition that shaped the way American coins are made even today. It's more than money. It's a story about innovation, change, and resilience. So the next time you're sorting through old change, checking that box of coins from your grandparents, or flipping through a roll from the bank, take a close look at your 1967 quarters. Examine the rim, the date, and the lettering carefully. You might just find a rare error, a perfect strike, or a gem that's been hiding in plain sight for decades. That simple 25-cent piece could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars if it's the right one. For collectors, the thrill of discovery is everything. Every coin tells a story, and the 1967 Liberty Quarter is no exception. It carries the spirit of the 1960s, a time of change, rebellion, and new beginnings, all captured in shining metal. From the first moment it left the mint to the moment it lands in your hand, it has lived a journey unlike any other. So keep your eyes open, coin lovers. Treasure can appear anywhere, in your wallet, your coin jar, or even in your pocket right now. The next fortune might just be a 1967 Liberty Quarter waiting for you to notice its hidden shine. Today's video is going to be one of the most exciting ones we've ever made. We're diving deep into the fascinating story, history, and current market value of the 1972 Liberty Quarter dollar coin, a coin that might look ordinary at first glance, but can actually be worth a lot of money if you know what to look for. So make sure you watch till the very end, because I'll be revealing the hidden secrets, varieties, mint marks, and collector demand that make the 1972 quarter dollar such a special piece of American numismatic history. Let's start with the background and history. The 1972 quarter dollar is part of the legendary Washington Quarter series, which began in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first President of the United States. The obverse, or front side, of the coin features the powerful portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, a sculptor whose work became one of the most iconic images in American coinage. You'll see the word liberty proudly inscribed above his head, reminding everyone of the American spirit of freedom. Below Washington's chin, you'll find the year 1972, marking the year it was minted. And on the left side, the phrase "In God We Trust" remains a timeless reminder of America's faith and values. The reverse, or back side, shows a majestic bald eagle, wings spread wide, clutching arrows and olive branches, symbols of war and peace. This classic design remained on quarters from 1932 all the way until 1998, before the new state quarter program began in 1999. That makes the 1972 quarter part of the last generation of classic Washington quarters before the massive collecting boom of the late 1990s. Now let's talk about the composition. The 1972 quarter dollar is made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, that's 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, with a pure copper core. It weighs about 5.67 grams and measures 24.3 millimeters in diameter. While these quarters aren't made of silver like older ones from before 1965, don't let that fool you. The 1972 Washington quarter can still carry tremendous collector value, especially in high grades, proof strikes, or rare minting errors. There were three main mints that produced the 1972 Washington quarter: the Philadelphia Mint with no mint mark, the Denver Mint, marked with a small d, and the San Francisco Mint, marked with an S, which struck proof coins for collectors. Let's break down the mintages for a better picture of rarity. In 1972, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 215 million quarters, the Denver Mint produced around 311 million, and the San Francisco Mint made 3.26 million proof coins. That means the total number of 1,972 quarters minted exceeded 500 million, which sounds like a lot, but the truth is, only a tiny fraction of these coins remain in perfect condition today, and that's where the value skyrockets. Let's talk about current market prices and why this coin could be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. A regular circulated 1972 quarter, one that's been used for everyday purchases, is typically worth 25 cents, its face value. But as soon as you find one in mint state condition, meaning no wear and with brilliant luster, the story changes completely. A 1972 D Washington quarter in mint state 65 condition can sell for around $50 to $125 depending on the eye appeal and strike quality. But rare high-grade examples graded MS67 or higher by PCGS or NGC can fetch $500 to over $1,000 at auction. The real stars of the 1972 quarter dollar world, however, are the error coins, and this is where things get really exciting. Error coins from 1972 have been discovered with double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and even struck on the wrong metal planchet. One example of a 1972 D double die obverse quarter sold for hundreds of dollars, and another off-center error brought in over $900. The market value for some of these ultra-rare pieces has been reported as high as $898.957, depending on rarity, condition, and collector demand. Yes, that's nearly $900,000 for the right coin. Imagine finding that in your pocket change. Now, you might be wondering, how do you identify if you have one of these valuable coins? Start by examining your 1972 quarters under a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look for doubling in the lettering of Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or in the date itself. These could be signs of a double die variety. Also, check the edges and rims for minting flaws, misalignments, or off-center designs. These mint errors are what collectors pay top dollar for. It's also important to look at luster, strike, and toning. A strong, full strike with mirror-like surfaces and no contact marks can push a coin into the premium price range. Coins stored safely for decades in original mint sets or rolls are your best chance of finding these gems. Let's also mention the 1972 S-proof quarter. This one was made specifically for collectors and not meant for circulation. Proof coins have a shiny, mirror-like finish and frosted details. A flawless PR70 deep cameo 1972's quarter can reach up to $250 to $400 depending on the auction and certification. Proof sets from 1972 are still affordable and can sometimes hide a rare gem that could be worth much more than the set's price. The collector market for 1972 quarters has been growing steadily. More people are getting into coin collecting, especially after seeing modern coins sell for unbelievable prices. The Washington Quarter series is especially popular among both beginners and advanced numismatists, making it a reliable and exciting area to explore. Right now, in 2025, the current market value of certain rare or high-grade 1972 quarters has seen strong demand. Auctions have seen top-tier specimens reaching close to $900,000 in certain private sales and rare varieties fetching well over five-figure sums. Coin dealers and grading companies report that demand for clean, original, uncirculated examples remains strong, especially for coins that have not been cleaned or damaged. If you want to find one of these treasures, start by checking your pocket change, coin jars, or old family collections. Many people don't realize that these 1972 quarters still circulate today, and they could be sitting in your wallet right now. You never know, one lucky discovery could turn a regular day into a life-changing moment. To preserve your valuable coins, never clean them, as cleaning can reduce their value dramatically. Instead, store them in coin flips, holders, or airtight capsules to protect them from moisture and scratches. If you believe you have a rare or error 1972 quarter, consider getting it professionally graded by PCGS or NGC. Certified coins often sell for much higher prices because buyers trust their authenticity and condition. Today we're diving deep into a fascinating piece of American numismatic history, the 1973 $quarter coin from the United States of America. We're going to explore its history, design, what makes it special, and then take a close look at its current market value, and whether you might really be sitting on a hidden treasure. A bit of background: the coin we're looking at is part of the long-running series of the Washington Quarter, the 25-cent piece that features the bust of the first U.S. President, George Washington, on its obverse. The Washington Quarter design was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate Washington's 200th birthday, and it has remained one of the most recognizable coins in U.S. circulation. Wikipedia +1 by 1973, the series was firmly established. The coin had transitioned decades earlier from silver to a clad, copper-nickel, composition, following the changes enacted by the Coinage Act of 1965, which removed silver from dimes and quarters and changed their composition. Wikipedia +2 coin identifier +2. So when you pick up a 1973 quarter, you're holding a coin that represents everyday U.S. circulation, but also one from a period of change and transition in coinage. The exact year, 1973, is interesting because it sits just 2 years before the bicentennial redesign of 1975-76. That context gives it a little extra historical flavor. Design and specifications. Let's talk about how the coin looks and what its physical traits are. Obverse, front. It features the portrait of George Washington facing left, with the inscription "Liberty" above his head, and "In God We Trust" to the left of the bust. The date, 1973, appears below the bust. The designer for this portrait was John Flanagan. PCGS.com +1 reverse. Back you'll see the heraldic eagle with wings spread, perched on a bundle of arrows, with olive branches beneath. At the top you'll see United States of America, and beneath the eagle, the denomination, $quarter. The legend, E pluribus unum, also appears. Bold precious metals +1 physical specs, diameter, about 24.3 mm, bold precious metals weight, about 5.67 g. Bold precious metals composition. For a 1973 quarter, it's a clad coin, outer layers of copper-nickel, 75% copper, 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. Bold precious metals +1 edge, reeded edge, 119 reeds. Bold precious metals. All of these traits help define what the coin is, how to identify it, and how to judge condition and authenticity. Why the 1973 quarter matters, you might ask. It's just another quarter from the 1970s, why highlight this one? Great question. Here are a few reasons. 1. Historical placement. because it was minted just before the U.S. Mint's redesign of many coins for the bicentennial, which happened in 1975 to 1976. The 1973 quarter sits in a normal period of the Washington quarter series, but the fact that older design changed soon after gives it a subtle collector's appeal. The standard eagle reverse remained until 1998. Errors or unusual features, misstrikes, wrong planchets, doubled dies, etc. Those variants might fetch significantly higher prices.